Here I am, finding myself using Slate.com uncritically over this completely insane story about Joe Biden. And I'm going to say this with the utmost sincerity. We really do need to talk about the age of the candidates running. I think there's one big reason Buttigieg is surging. He's 38? So he's a little on the young side for a president, but what's the alternative? A 77-year-old guy who doesn't know where he is? A 70-year-old socialist who just had a heart attack? Look, I think the game is all messed up. We're seeing now Bernie Sanders is essentially calling for a recount in Iowa. They call it a recanvass. But Joe Biden apparently just called a young woman a lying, dog-faced pony soldier. And Slate.com has the same question I do. What? What does that mean? Look, it comes from, it's like a derivative mashup of some John Wayne movie. I actually have it pulled up with another a post from Town Hall going way back. So it is based in something, but as if anyone would understand this reference or the tagline, no malarkey. I am not convinced Joe Biden is actually running. And that brings me to where we're going with this. Donald Trump must be laughing harder than he has ever laughed looking at this lineup. We have a story from the Washington Examiner. Trump is licking his chops over a second-rate Democratic field. Dare I say, Trump has a great economy. He's got record support. He's won approval, I should say. He won on impeachment. He won on emoluments. He's got everything lining up for a landslide victory. You've got the complete and total collapse of the Democratic Party and the infighting between the socialists, the progressives, and the moderates. And then even if that wasn't all bad for Democrats, you have the fact that none of their candidates are top tier. They're all second rate. Okay, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but they are the B team. There's no Obama among them. Now, I think, after looking at some of the speeches and looking at, presentability and charisma, Pete Buttigieg probably is the best. So maybe, as much as a lot of people want to believe there's a grand conspiracy, and we can certainly look at Iowa and say, this is not correct. Buttigieg should not be winning. They function in a very similar, it's kind of like an electoral college system, how the delegates work. So Buttigieg won 60 counties, I think, 60 districts or something, or precincts, and Bernie won 18. And that's why Buttigieg got two more. I think he got two more delegates. He got 14 and Bernie got 12. Now, I do think the DNC cheats. I think they cheated last time, and I think they're cheating now. But I don't necessarily believe that, Buttigieg is failing and that they're rigging the number of votes. I think they're cheating in ways like smearing Bernie. They're cheating in ways like the media is working against him in a lot of ways. And I think, them allowing Bloomberg into the debates, which they have not done yet, but changing the threshold so that he can get in the debates. That's the kind of cheating we're seeing. I know a lot of people want to go towards they're changing votes area, but Buttigieg didn't win the popular vote. I think it really comes down to this. I think in all fairness, when you look at the field, the best they can do is a youngish small town mayor. Because what else do they have? Incoherent ramblings of senile Joe Biden. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm saying the dude literally forgets where he is all the time. And people can't understand what he's saying in many cases. He just mutters and mumbles. Like the other day at the debate, there was one scene where people were saying Joe Biden forgot where he was because he was turned around facing the other direction. I think maybe he was fixing his teeth or something. I mean that seriously. I'm not trying to be mean. But a lot of people saw that as him kind of drifting, because there was literally a moment in a rally where Joe Biden turned around away from the crowd and started walking towards the monitors while talking. You couldn't hear him. And people were like, what is he doing? Where's he going? He's looking in the wrong direction. Look, I know Trump is old too, but Trump has this economy behind him. Like what I mean is it's working. So when people are given a choice, what happens? I think a lot of people are going to go to Trump just because, hey, whatever, 4 more years and then he's out, right? And things are going pretty well. But when you look at the actual Democratic field, I'm not surprised Bernie couldn't beat Buttigieg. Look, it may be rigged. It may be a conspiracy, whatever you want to think. But I think, Occam's razor, man. Pete Buttigieg is fast talking, okay? He's got quick answers, not always the best, but he's a younger guy. And I'm not saying he'd be a good president or even a good candidate. He's just literally the best they could muster, small town mayor from Indiana. Bernie Sanders is a 78-year-old socialist who just had a heart attack. Let's read about why Joe Biden decided to call a woman dog-faced. This is one of the reasons why I pulled up Slate. I am confused as to why he thought it would be appropriate to call a young woman dog-faced. I get it. He's talking about a movie. Some Native Americans called redcoats dog-faced or something. Biden, he's just so out of touch. Slate reports Joe Biden just called a woman at one of his events a lying dog-faced pony soldier. What? At a campaign event in Hampton, New Jersey on Sunday, presidential candidate Joe Biden jokingly referred to a young woman who asked him a question as a lying dog-faced pony soldier, according to the Washington Post. There's video of the incident, which began when 21-year-old student Madison Moore asked Biden to explain his poor showing in the Iowa caucuses. So Biden basically says, he was like, have you ever, it wasn't a primary, it was a caucus. You ever been to a caucus? And then apparently she says yes, and goes, no, you haven't, you lying dog-faced pony soldier. And people laugh. First of all, you ever watch Rick and Morty? When Rick says, Jerry is like the red grin grumble to not knowing what's going on. And then, Summer and Morty laugh. Maybe you don't know the reference. The point is, Rick then says, I just made that up. Stop being sheep. He told a joke that had no contextual basis. It was fabricated, and they laugh. And that's what happened here. The people laughing at what Joe Biden said have no idea what he said or what it means. And they were laughing, I don't know, just like bleeding sheep. Ha 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 ha, it was a joke. Was it? I don't know what lying dog-faced pony soldier means. For me, not having any reference to a John Wayne movie because I'm 33, I took that as a serious insult. Pony soldier? Like dog-faced horse body of some sort? What does that even mean? They say Biden's spokespeople said the line was taken from a scene in a John Wayne movie in which a Native American chief refers to Wayne as a lying dog-faced pony soldier. No, he doesn't. That's not true. But it is derivative of. So it's like clearly he watched the movie and Biden can't remember what actually happened. Biden has used the phrase and attributed it to a John Wayne movie in the past. At a 2018 campaign event for Heidi Heitkamp, Biden said the following about Heitkamp's opponent, Kevin Kramer. He basically said, that's all they really say. As my brother who loves to use lines from movies, from John Wayne movies, there's a line in a movie, a John Wayne movie, where an Indian chief turns to John Wayne and says, this is a lying dog-faced pony soldier. It never happened. It's not in the movie. So look, I think, Joe Biden in 1952 must have seen this movie and is not remembering correctly because they do say dog-faced. They do say pony soldier. I don't think they say lying. So he kind of just mashed these things together. It's not a reference. By far, the most common question raised by Biden's use of the phrase in New Hampshire has been, what the hell is Joe Biden thinking? Calling a young woman dog-faced. But running a close second is there really a movie in which someone calls John Wayne a lying dog-faced pony soldier? The answer is a resounding maybe. Wayne appeared in 180 movies over 50 years, and who knows what they called him in all of them. But it seems at least as likely that Biden is thinking of a different film, Pony Soldier, a 1952 Western from director Joseph M. Newman starring Tyrone Power as a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Pony Soldier, in the context of the film, is a Native American nickname for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And although no one calls Powers a lying dog-faced pony soldier, a chief does say, the pony soldier speaks with the tongue of the snake that rattles, which isn't far off. So it wasn't John Wayne, I guess? Oh, here we go. Did they actually find it? Here's an update. Twitter users and Slate commenter Lee Bertram point to a source for the dog-faced part of Biden's quote, this time in an actual John Wayne movie. 1949's She Wore a Yellow Ribbon. There are no Native American chiefs calling John Wayne a liar or a pony soldier, but over the final shot of cavalry, the narrator uses the phrase dog-faced soldiers. So there you have it. Joe Biden, referencing movies from 70 years ago. Wow, how old is Biden? Accidentally mashed up two different movies from years apart to create the line lying dog-faced pony soldier. I do not believe Joe Biden is actually running for president. I really don't. I think the Democrats were like, we're not going to win this one, right? Right. What can we do? I don't know. Just throw spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks. That's about what they're doing. I think they're probably like, line up the B team because we're not going to win anyway, and we don't want to taint any of our A-list players. Save them for 2024. But I don't think they have any A-list players come 2024 either. Like, seriously, is there anybody you can name in the Democratic Party who might actually go up against Trump? I got to be honest. I don't think so. I mean, well, come 2024, the better question is, will they go up against, say, Pence or Donald Trump Jr.? And maybe that's the big issue. There's no Republican that could go up against Trump, and there's no Democrat. He won. They can't beat him. So maybe they're thinking, we'll hold out until we get a weaker Republican challenger in 2024, and we're going to throw up, I don't know, Biden, I guess, because Biden at least kind of could be an A-list political candidate for president, even though nobody wants to vote for the guy because he's apparently... okay, I'm trying to be... I don't want to be overly disrespectful by literally calling him senile or even doing it disrespectfully, but come on, man. How many events has he been at where he didn't know where he was? How many times has he spoken and said something nonsensical and then immediately tried turning it into something that could at least somewhat make sense? He does it all the time. How many times has he turned around on the stage, looking away from the audience, doing who knows what? Perhaps when he's doing that, he's fixing his teeth. Look, I'm not saying that to be mean and disrespect him for being old. I'm saying that it's like the simple solution. Otherwise, what's the answer? He's out of his mind? I mean, maybe he is. Maybe he's just old and doesn't know what's going on anymore. Or he would turn around so you can't see him as he kind of, because there have been moments where his teeth have slipped. I think the same thing is true for Nancy Pelosi. Again, not being disrespectful. It's like it happens to people when they get old. They get dentures, their teeth fall out. So either way, I think we should be worried that these candidates are just second-rate. That's what the Washington Examiner says. Trump is licking his chops over a second-rate Democratic field. Bernie Sanders has a lot behind him in terms of support, but he doesn't have A-list support. He doesn't have a coalition of, Democratic voters. Neither does Buttigieg. None of these people do. And a lot of these people have a bust faction that won't vote for anybody else. Even Buttigieg has a small faction of people who will not support other candidates if Buttigieg does not get the nomination. How can they possibly hope to win? Especially with Bernie's 10% and Yang's 42%. The Washington Examiner says, all those pundits saying the Iowa caucus fiasco suddenly makes the Democrats weak for the fall election against President Trump are wrong. There was nothing sudden about their weakness at all. Let me tell you this. Bernie Sanders initially said he would not call for a recanvass. I was heavily critical of that. I mean, look, you all these people are accusing the IDP and the DNC of cheating you, and you say, whatever, we'll just claim we won the popular vote. He did. So we won't talk about the delegates. Okay, see how that plays out when you actually go to the convention and you lose because you don't have enough delegates. Well, now Bernie does want the recanvass. So thank you. At least he's somewhat now standing up for himself. That I can respect. But I think all of that shows, it has nothing to do with Iowa in reality. Hillary Clinton's been stomping all over Bernie and didn't do anything about it. Joe Biden's own supporters are calling out Biden's corruption, and Bernie apologizes to him. Joe Biden doesn't know where he is. Klobuchar is awkward and, forgettable. You do have some people I like. I think Yang has improved tremendously. I think Tulsi's great, but the media is ripping them to shreds. At least for the most part, they fought back. Yang's, boycotted MSNBC for a while because they kept calling him the wrong name or omitting him. And Tulsi Gabbard, well, most of you are aware she has pulled no punches, actually suing Google and now Hillary Clinton. So that I can respect. But of course, for some reason, the media and the establishment don't want to prop up the actual contenders who have stood up for themselves. They want to prop up the weird, unelectable B-team candidates. Fine. Examiner says, even before Iowa, this Democratic field was embarrassingly weak. It is woefully lacking in stature, accomplishments, competence, and salable political philosophy. Most of its major contenders are either too old or too young. And now the National Party infrastructure's obvious disarray only exacerbates these problems. Right. They were already weak to begin with. Did anyone seriously think these people could go up against Trump? I mean, you have all these head-to-head polls claiming that in a head-to-head matchup between basically every Democrat, I think except Buttigieg, Trump loses. I don't buy it. Especially considering Buttigieg is the one who's surging, unless the Democrat machine is just manipulating the election. Some people think so. Consider frontrunner Bernie Sanders. His popularity, okay, now they're getting disrespectful. These are not my words. His popularity with historically illiterate, willfully ignorant millennials aside, he would be a joke as a general election candidate in any other year. He's not just a social democrat. He spent decades as an open sympathizer for communist causes. One small improvement for veterans aside, his legislative achievements in 30 years are nearly nil. By election day, he'll be 79 years old and a recent heart attack survivor. Yup. I do not believe he's going to successfully go up against Trump. And a lot of what people don't seem to understand. Right now, we are seeing Republicans defend Bernie Sanders because the DNC seems to be cheating him in certain ways. You know why that is? I do not believe, for the most part, it is out of their good nature and goodwill towards respecting the established tradition of safe and secure voting. I think the obvious thing is you put Buttigieg up as your nominee. There's very little to smear him over. You can call him inexperienced, but he does have military experience. And small town issues are very important to Americans. I think Buttigieg makes sense at this point. Bernie Sanders has offensive, essays he's written. He's praised the Soviet Union. He honeymooned there, apparently. These videos all exist. And what do you think's going to happen if he wins if he wins the nomination? You're going to see Republicans plastering his photo all over the internet, all over TV, clips of Bernie Sanders praising the Soviet Union. Then you're going to have those Veritas clips where Bernie supporters talk about violent insurrection and putting Trump voters in camps. Yeah, Bernie's he's got bad things coming his way if he wins. So sure, when all the Republicans come out and actually, defend him, they're looking forward to it. Hey, great, this guy's going to win the nomination, and then we can plaster this pro-commie stuff all over the web and all over TV. It's good for Republicans. Regardless of whether or not Republicans do that, though, if you're a Bernie supporter, you probably should take whatever support you can get, even if it comes from, Trump Jr. If they're pointing out that Iowa is rigged against you and the system is being rigged, don't you want to try to win? It's certainly not the Bernie Sanders supporters who think he's going to lose for these reasons, in which case you'd think they'd take whatever they can get and say, yep, it's rigged, we're fighting back. And they're kind of doing that. Bernie wants a recanvass now. We'll see what happens. Then they get into, here you go. They say, really, no one older than 75 should be elected to a first term as president. The chances for destabilizing health problems are just too great. Joe Biden, now 77, and Bloomberg, 78 next week, are too old. Biden has had intermittent health problems and once nearly died for more than 30 years. Oh, okay, that's a parentheses. He's had health problems for more than 30 years. He also is fated never to escape ethics questions about his failure to recuse himself from policy involving Ukraine. Bloomberg has had heart irregularities. Trump's old, but he ran before he was 70. And a lot of people have said online that 70 is the cutoff, not just because it makes sense in terms of health, but because typically no one, I think this could be true, I could be wrong about this, no one has ever won if they've been older than 70. There is a minimum age requirement. Perhaps there should be a maximum. I don't know. The problem I find with the maximum requirement is that health, is improving. I understand the 35 thing, right? You have a certain amount of experience and you lived in the country for a certain amount of time. All of that makes sense. But I mean, what, in 100 years, are we going to treat 70 the same as we did 100 years, before now? I don't think so. What I can say is the people will decide. That's all that matters. The people will decide. We don't need any hard rules about being too old. The fact is, if Trump is too old today but still wins, then so be it. He won. That's what people wanted. If Bernie Sanders is too old but he pulls out a win, then congratulations. He deserved it. The people voted for it. There you go. Is it a risk? Yes. The voters take all of that into consideration. With Biden's gaffes and nonsensical statements and Bernie's heart attack, I do not see them standing a chance. Elizabeth Warren is also, how old is she? She's 70 or 72? I don't know. But do they mention that she's 70? Here they say Buttigieg is 38 going on 19. He is the failed mayor of Indiana's fourth largest city, having been elected to that position with fewer votes than many student government officers at state universities. Radically left on issues, yada, yada, yada. They basically just say, oh, here we go. The field in 1972 was similarly accomplished, including Hubert Humphrey, McGovern, Edmund Muskie, Eugene McCarthy, and Scoop Jackson. In 1988, Hart Jackson, Biden, Al Gore, Bruce Babbitt, Dick Gephardt, and Paul Simon all had reputations significantly outstripping anyone in today's field except Biden. Michael Dukakis, the eventual nominee, had already been elected 3 times as governor of Massachusetts. In comparison, nearly all of this year's candidates are pygmies, and Biden, if he stays in much longer, is really too old to serve. If Democrats want victory, they need a galvanizing new entrant in the race. Some people have made this speculation. Failed candidates, brokered convention, chaos in the electoral process, And down comes the savior from on above. Hillary Clinton steps into the race for a rematch. I doubt it. I really doubt it. I think, look, John Kerry was a B-lister. I think when the Democrats know they're not going to win, they save their A-listers for later. That really does make the most sense. But I don't know who the Democrats have right now who really could be an A-list candidate. Buttigieg was pulled out of, the middle of nowhere, and he's got chops in terms of like his personality and his charisma, but certainly not in terms of his name recognition or experience. So I think the Democrats are actually planning on losing this one. I do. Bernie Sanders supporters aren't. They're the upstart insurgents. We'll see what happens. But at any rate, let me just give one bit of advice as we wrap up. Joe, nobody understands your 70-year-old references. All it sounded like was a strange insult to a young woman. But do what you want. You do you. I will see you all at 1 p.m. on this channel for the next video. Thanks for hanging out. I'll see you then.